Cris Collinsworth here on the Rich Eisen Show. All right, let's talk some Sunday Night Football. You have seen virtually every team that's in the mix for a Super Bowl. You've seen New Orleans without Breeze. That was a fascinating night with Teddy Bridgewater. You also saw one of the few flex games. I mean, everything's been virtually almost the way it was scheduled, with San Francisco taking care of business. You witnessed New England lose its first game of the year with the Ravens. The best team that you've seen with your own two eyes through 15 weeks would be which, Cris?
Baltimore. And as much as I want to talk about Lamar Jackson, and I think that's the story, I also think that anybody can tell you about Lamar Jackson, right? That this is a team that he does spectacular things. And John Harbaugh's decision to go there with him. I mean, you think about that decision, and everybody, now goes, oh, yeah, well, we had Lamar. Well, no, you didn't, because he was lasted to number 32, right? So, but he basically committed his career to Lamar Jackson. He effectively said, I understand I'm going to have to change. We are going to have to change everything we do. Everything we do is going to have to be different if we play with Lamar Jackson. We've got to commit to a different running style. We've got to go get a big back like a Mark Ingram. We've got to go, we've got to find a speed receiver. So when they try to play man-to-man coverage against us, so they go out and they draft Hollywood Brown and right down the list. So everything's going to be different. And that commitment, and he told us the story of the decision, and we're finally, they were literally going at it in the draft room and just debating back and forth, and he finally goes, let's do it, right? And it was about that simple. And from that moment, I think that, certainly at their high end of hopes that they were thinking that, this is going to work out. But I don't think any of them could have imagined how quickly this thing has become the phenomenon that it is. But I'll say this, Rich, as good as he's been, and he's been fantastic, this is a team of men. I'm telling you right now, when you talk about physical football, you put Orlando Brown and Marshall Yanda and Ronnie Stanley with Mark Ingram behind them, and if you're not sure even that Ingram's going to get the ball, and maybe here comes Lamar Jackson on the edge, and maybe there goes Hollywood Brown. But the thing that impresses me more than anything else is when it's time to go toe-to-toe, and we're getting there, right? We're almost in playoff season, bad weather, all that kind of stuff. When it's time to go toe-to-toe, this team physically will match up with anybody.
Well, then the question is who has the best chance to maybe beat them or prevent them from getting to the Super Bowl? And I kind of go back and forth on this, Cris Collinsworth here on the Rich Eisen Show. Is it a team that's already seen them before? So you can draw upon an experience. It's not a first-time experience. You know how fast Lamar Jackson is. You do know what this offense looks like, and you don't have to simulate it with somebody who clearly isn't the real McCoy in some sort of scout team. Or is it somebody that does have the physical firepower, offensive firepower, and defensive strength to beat them in a first-time shot? What do you think?
I know who you're talking about and what you're talking about, and I agree with you, but maybe not the team that you think I think.
Okay.
Obviously, the Patriots are the team that comes to mind first, right? So the Patriots did not play that well defensively that night, and the strength of the Patriots is in their secondary. That's what they do best. Their coverage skills are clearly what they do best, and we know Belichick, second time around, the thing I hear complaints about all the time is no matter how smart a coach you are, you can't get ready for these guys in 1 week. You just can't. There's too many things that are different. I mean, I can remember watching my son play at Notre Dame, and they go play Navy with the triple option. Well, they're only doing it once a year, and meanwhile, Navy's been practicing this thing for the last 50 years and being very good at it. The team that impressed me and surprised me the most, honestly, was San Francisco. If you remember the day they went up there and you're thinking, okay, we know Lamar and we know Ingram and we know the Ravens can run the ball, and the weather conditions were horrible and it was raining. The 49ers were just coming off a big game, had to travel across the country, had to play at 1 o'clock, which is 10 a.m. for a West Coast team, and usually those teams don't play well in that situation, and played them down down to the wire and played them a physical game. Defensive matched up pretty darn well against Lamar and the offense. I came out, it was the first time I really came out of a game believing in the 49ers and, of course, what they did against New Orleans. And then the other thing that always comes up for me is everybody's going to say, yeah, but, right, they lost to Atlanta. But how many times do we see a team play their best game of the year, which was in New Orleans, no question, for San Francisco, and turn around and can't get close to that effort the next week because you spent the whole week at restaurants and bars and everybody telling you you're the greatest thing ever because of the Saints. It's a matter of fact. So, I still think San Francisco is the team to really watch.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.